Well, for more on China's latest education regulations, let's bring in Berlin Fang, author, translator, and educator. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Rachelle. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. So let's start first with these most recent changes focusing on private tutoring. What other education-related rules have really been implemented this year?
Well, I think there are two areas that are being heavily affected. Number one, I think the regulations say students should not be overloaded with homework assignments, and number two is that they should not have extra training after school on the weekends, things like that. So these are the two main areas that have been, the regulations have been implemented.
So then help us get a better sense of just how central these types of firms have really become to Chinese academic life.
Well, I think in the past decades, actually more than this kind of activities or increased pressure on students have created lots of social anxiety, especially among the students, among their families, and this is really becoming a huge issue. So much so that parents do not want to give birth to their second child because of the heavy cost in education that they anticipate. So it is a big issue nationally, and because of the school's central role in people's lives now, it is also pushing the real estate price to be abnormal to the abnormal heights. So these are real social problems that needs to be addressed. So the current regulations seem to be trying to address these issues and people's concerns.
So then in terms of the size of this industry, I mean, how many of these private tutoring services are there in China, and just how lucrative is this sector?
Well, they are very lucrative. I do not know exact number of these companies, but I know they are very lucrative because everybody is targeting the K-12 kids because they are the population where for which parents or everybody wants to spend their money. So they are Chinese. We have a huge culture of emphasizing education, thinking of education is one of the main means for social mobility. So everybody wants to spend money, and without much reservation. In other areas, they might want to save, but this is not an area that people want to save because there's a lot of money there, and with parents investing in their children's education, it creates lots of peer pressure for parents among themselves and for students as well. So if you don't keep up, other people may be seen as having a competitive edge. That's why people want to pour their money into their kids' education. This is why that whole industry is booming.
And as we did just hear some of the changes that businesses are going to have to make sure that they're in line with the restrictions, what about adjustments that families are going to have to make?
Well, I think the families will have to rethink what it actually means to have a well-educated child. Very often, parents think of schools to be preparation for the next stage of schools. The elementary school to be preparation for junior high is preparation for high school, and on it goes. So everything just means to an end. People, the parents will have to rethink, whether the 20 years of their kids' life, I mean, the K-12 years and the college years are really just preparation. Are they just a means to an end, or can they be an end in themselves? So they will have to rethink how they perceive kids' education, what it really means to have a well-rounded child. You have heard earlier that China is emphasizing more about sports, about arts,
right,
about other aspects of a child's development, not just passing a test. So this is a major paradigm shift that needs to happen. That is long overdue, but I think it is gradually gaining momentum, especially with the new regulations.
And just quickly then, as we've seen, the pandemic and the school closures around the world really highlighted the need for not just more innovation, but also more access in the education sector. How might China address that going forward in terms of regulations or other sorts of changes?
Yes, and I think that is the inequality of access was one of the drivers of change, because in the past with the after school training existing, teachers are not actually motivated to teach to their fullest ability in the classroom because they could actually save some energy, some time, and some of their knowledge they're supposed to pass on to the kids for the after-school training, where they may find it more lucrative. So that is creating lots of inequality. So parents who cannot afford this kind of extra training after school will find their children at a great disadvantage. So this kind of problem has to be solved because if you just keep teachers doing this kind of practices, it is really creating lots of inequality, and it's also tarnishing the reputation of teaching profession because the teachers will be engaged in lots of conflicts of interest between their regular classroom teaching and their after-school teaching.
Lots to think about there. We do thank you for your insights. Berlin Fang there, author, translator and educator.